I wanted to do a super simple video for those of you who say, I'm just scared to get started. You've bought my classes, or maybe you haven't yet, but you are just scared. I wanted to break it down to how to get yourself to put some paint on paper. So let's try just going really simple and just having a goal of literally making some colors, putting them on paper, and seeing what happens. So I've got here a Arteza watercolor sketchbook. These come in a 2-pack. They're really great sketchbooks for the money. I'll put the link in the description. I've got here some palette paper, but since we're keeping these simple, you can start with a ceramic plate like this. You can do even a paper plate if it's waxed. You could use a piece of a glass cutting board, depending on the paint you're using, any non-porous surface, even a piece of plastic. If you've got, this table's covered in plastic. Anything non-porous can serve as a palette. And we're going to just choose a few colors of whatever paint you have. I'll just grab the Nova acrylic since I have them here. But if you have watercolor or whatever you have, remember our goal is really simple. We're just mixing colors and putting paint on paper. And I like to put just a scrap piece of paper, any paper is fine, to kind of keep from getting paint on all the rest of my sketchbook pages. So we'll do that. And whoops, sorry, I jostled the camera. All right, let's pick white. And I often, if I'm using acrylic, instead of just using white, I often use gesso, which is an opaque white. It's technically a surface primer, meaning it kind of seals off the watercolor paper. So it depends on the effect you're going for. If you're going for more of a watery effect, then you don't probably want to use gesso, just use the paint. But I'm just choosing a white, either one, white paint or white gesso. And then let's pick, let's do this a blue. So I'll pick cerulean blue. Let's do just a yellow. This is a cadmium yellow. And then let's go for the fluorescent magenta and see with just those 3 colors. In fact, I have a class called 3 Colors. What's it called? One brush, 3 colors. And we make 7 paintings because I'm trying to prove the point that it's pretty simple to make a lot of colors. We'll see if we want to add maybe a fluorescent. Fluorescents can do magic. Maybe a fluorescent red. I haven't used this fluorescent red much. All right, so let's just get a little bit of each of these colors on the palette. You can do that with an old brush. You can do it with an old kitchen knife if you don't have a palette knife, which most people probably don't. You don't need a whole lot. Let's get some of that blue. You just wipe this off. I have also, when you're at Starbucks, you can pick up their stir sticks. Those are great for handling paint, stirring paint. I'm always looking for potential mark-making tools when I'm out in public. Coffee shops have a few interesting tools between the stir sticks and the sometimes the cardboard impressions. Let's get the yellow. Oh, this is all dried up. Let's see if there's anything to resurrect here. I think it's to the end, don't you think? Okay, that's going in the bin. Let me get a new one. Let's see, I don't want the bright lemony yellow because, I could use that, but I just want a warmer yellow. Okay. I got a little green into that, but it doesn't matter. We're going to be mixing anyway. The whole idea here is to channel your inner 5-year-old. That will get you past the fear. It really will. I'm going to put in a scrap piece of paper here. This is an old palette paper that I used. Sometimes when my sketchbooks get full, they need a little clip. And I have an idea. I'll use the gesso with these colors on this side, and won't use it and do the more watery approach on this side. That way we'll see the difference. And why not throw some of this fluorescent? Oh boy, that was really stuck. Red. It's going to need a bit of a stir. Maybe I haven't used the fluorescent red, or I haven't, this one might be a new one. I use the fluorescent pink quite a bit. Fluorescent just gives a little oomph to your other colors. It's obviously not necessary, but it's something that over time I've enjoyed playing with. I've got a jar of water. And the brush doesn't really even matter for this exercise because we're not doing fine, shapes and edges. So I'm going to intentionally grab kind of a cheap, well-worn brush. This is definitely well-worn. It started out with all the bristles being the same length. See that? And now it's sort of a rounded shrub. That's what I should call it, my shrub brush. All right. I'm just going to be very, try to remember what I said about, I'm going to mix with gesso or white, whichever one you choose on this side. And I'm just grabbing, kind of just playing. I'm literally going to grab another color. Now, what I will say, a little bit of rhyme and reason, is stay away from the blue until you've got your kind of warm colors down, and then you won't even probably need to rinse your brush. And I'm not putting a ton of paint in the, on the brush. And we can have areas that are lighter, where we use more water. All right, so now let's do a more, I will rinse so that I can do the more watery version, and we won't use any of the white over here. So it'll be more like a watercolor effect over on this side. Okay, so just taking some of the same colors, a little bit of the fluorescent, and thinking about my 5-year-old. This is the fluorescent magenta. I do love this color from Nova Color. But if you have just a magenta, something, whoopsie, so we're going to go with it. Accidentally got into the blue, that's okay, we're going to transition. I did not wash the yellows and things out of my brush. So on this side, I'm not using the white. We're getting that kind of more watercolory effect. Just washing out some of that blue so that it doesn't, and I'm just saying, okay, let's cover the page. Let's cover it. Let's leave some bits of intense color. And that one's pretty well covered. Not that you can't leave white, of course. Let's go back to here now with the blue and adding some of the white. And I'm just kind of looking for bits, I just added a tiny bit of the yellow into the blue to make kind of a turquoisey color. Adding more white to get some lighter colors. Not thinking, just saying to myself, play and see what happens. Okay, so first layer is done. That easy, right? Take a sip of coffee or water. Interesting how, I mean, obviously I picked up more of the fluorescent and warmer colors here than in this one because I ran into the blue. So just kind of, they looked quite different, don't they? And they're the same colors, the same basic colors that we started with. This one will probably take a little longer to dry because, you know, it's more watercolory. But my goal with this little mini lesson is just to get you past that fear. And also this exercise is great if you're just not feeling inspired. Maybe you don't feel well that day, you know, or that part of the day, but you really want to create. You could literally do what we just did and that's it. Let it dry, come back and play with it or don't, you know, or add some other little bits, or grab your pens or crayons and make some more little marks. So I think now I'm going to transition, since we did that, to a little bit smaller brush, but I'm still going to go with a damaged brush. This is a small shrub. I really like that name, shrub. It's funny that for this kind of thing, I like my little damaged brushes. So I'm going to add, I'm getting some of that fluorescent. I need a little bit more white, so I'm going to squeeze some more gesso in there. Again, white paint is fine. Gesso's just easy to buy in a bottle, and I use so much white. And I'm just going to maybe make some little marks. If I want it to be more opaque, I can add more white. Also, you know, this didn't dry completely, which I know you're going to let yours dry. Now I'm being a little more thoughtful, but still not analyzing. I'm just saying, this is a pretty color. Let's see where we can put it, kind of a thing. And I'm changing the shape or the shade of it a little bit. So maybe a little bit more of the pigment or a little bit less of the white in certain places. You know, some variety. Over here we already have some of this, but I can add a little bit more down here. Whoops, I said I wasn't going to use white here and I just did. So you'll get more of an opaque thing, but that's okay. You saw the difference with a more watercolory look and a more kind of acrylic paint look. And gesso, gouache can be used for either one of these. So now I start thinking about, like, what color would be fun to make next? I want to make sure you can see this whole palette. Okay, I'm going to scooch this over. And let's make kind of maybe a minty green. By the way, I have a color mixing class that's free. There'll be a link to that in the description to this as well. And that's a good one, just to learn about color mixing. I think it's 7 weeks and I send you a new video each week. And it comes with an ebook that I worked really hard on. I have to say, I think it's a really nice class. Just my goal, my vision, I guess, is that, you know, that as many people in the world to create as we can get. Because I think if you try it with the right approach, you'll be surprised at what you can do. All right, so I'm just going to make some lines. And you know, you can play with opacity. So if you put something down and it's not as opaque as you'd like, let it dry and come back and do another layer. I'll make it a little more blue. Now I'm maybe being a little more thoughtful, but still I'm not painting anything in particular. I'm just thinking of color. And you know, this may dry and I may come back and do more things to it. Something may emerge that says to me, oh, this looks like a garden and this looks like a this or that. And I may, you know, stick a stem somewhere. Who knows? We're just playing. So I'm not going to take this to a finished anything because that wasn't the point. This point was to get rid of the white page and get you to start playing with color. So I'll show you that I literally mean it when I tell you guys, play with color, play with shape. This is what I'm talking about. You know, saying, oh, well, maybe what about some circles down here? And what about some lines over here? Just playing. You can see how quickly you could fill up a sketchbook this way. Okay, so I hope that helps and that you enjoy. Happy creating.